Hey there. Today on Twerks, the new pharmacy playbook. We're talking about workforce strength, AI clarity, and 340B reform. You're not going to want to miss this, Twerks. Hey, welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. I'm your host, Todd Urey, founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and it is cold in Pittsburgh. It's been bouncing between the mornings of 22, 26. It maybe gets up to 36 now. Winter is here. It can't be argued anymore. I've been pushing and screaming and kicking because I didn't want to give in to winter. Our winters here in southwestern Pennsylvania are not like maybe my family down in Florida or you people out in Arizona or even California. It's like one of those wet colds, and you can't get warm no matter what you do. So we have a special episode and segment today. We don't do much of this on This Week in Pharmacy because we're so pharmacy centric, but there's lots of other things happening. And as business owners and as entrepreneurs, people out there listening, that you dig into workforce management and people time management and keeping people motivated. I mean, if you can't build a strong team, you can't build your business. I know what that feels like. I know what that's like of having a small team of my own, and leadership comes into that. I am excited about today's leadership because we don't get enough time with pharmacy executives, but this person and a friend of mine now knowing her for a number of years, Crystal Lennartz, is with us today from McKesson. So excited to have you here, Crystal. Just in case people don't know you, introduce yourself quickly to the listeners, and we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pat. I appreciate you having me today. Crystal Lennartz. I'm president of Mart, which is McKesson's independent pharmacy franchise, and Mart Atlas, which is our pharmacy services administrative organization. And really our goal is to support independent pharmacy owners on their business of pharmacy so they can focus on what they do best, which is taking care of their patients.
Well, thank you for being here, Crystal. It's so good to always see you at the conferences. And I want to just say thank you so much for making time for us. You've always been open with your time, and I know how busy you are, especially at those conferences. These things make my head spin.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into this. So closings of big chain pharmacies and churn in ownership and the strife and the issues that we know our independents are going through with the factors of what's going on in pharmacy and how it's changing. So when I think of workforce management, when I think of keeping my talent and my team motivated and inspired, and then of course our shortages, kind of give us your insight, because you get to see this from a macro perspective. And I don't think our pharmacy owners, pharmacists out there, even people, maybe even health system, really get to hear from people that are able to have that kind of vision. So what do you think's going on?
Yeah, I would say workforce management and staffing is definitely a struggle across the pharmacy space, regardless of the setting that you might practice in. And I've seen just many contributing factors over the past really decade. Community pharmacies in particular are operating in a really complex reimbursement and overall healthcare environment right now. So it can make it difficult to manage balancing profitability with offering the competitive wages and that are needed to really recruit and retain talent. So from a Mart and McKesson perspective, we're focused on supporting pharmacies to help them manage their operations more efficiently, be able to free up some resources to be able to support a strong labor force. And I would say helping to attract and retain talent as well. When you think about offering training, the technician is often the heart of the pharmacy. So we have basic and comprehensive accredited technician training, continuing education opportunities, and then also just overall support for the pharmacies in terms of tools and resources, but it can definitely be difficult to not only attract, but be able to appropriately train and retain talent in today's environment.
Absolutely. I like how you mentioned pharmacy technicians because we've talked with so many recently through the NPTA, for example, National Pharmacy Technician Association. Mike Johnston's been on the show several times, and he's sharing how now there are career opportunities for physicians that are really interesting, internal to the operations, internal to helping with pre-authorizations or customer service, or even the front ends, and in growing almost like a mini education sessions for our patients or our people that are in the aisles of our pharmacies, and make helping our owners and people out there running these operations to think about this. Let's also talk about the shift from dispensing to clinical advisory from the pharmacist perspective. How do you see that kind of changing workforce a little bit, and bringing in talent that really can dial into the specifics, diabetes or hypertension or something that is giving us a big opportunity?
Yeah, I would say we're really seeing pharmacies and all of the pharmacy team, whether that be the pharmacists or technicians, embrace being clinically ready to best serve their communities. And a majority of our pharmacies are located in medically underserved areas, whether that be rural or urban. So we're seeing them go beyond dispensing, offering, services like immunizations, medication therapy management, point of care testing. And I think these services not only improve the patient access to care and health outcomes, but also from a pharmacy health perspective can help in terms of financial viability as well. And then from a Health Mart perspective, we view our role to really help to enable. So whether that be solution support, training, technology solutions that they might need to be able to streamline those services. And as pharmacists continue to practice at the top of our licenses, we're going to need educated and informed support staff and technicians. So it's been exciting to see that role really expand and grow as well.
Crystal, because you have that very special access to so many pharmacy owners and friendships and buying groups that you support and you've built relationships with, there's a lot of data there. And there's a lot of operational data there that could become a blueprint or a map for our owners to say, hey, listen, here's best practices internal to the pharmacy of what to do next in certain instances, including revenue growth or revenue challenges. There was a recent report that came out just last week from the Chief Talent Officer. You can find it at chieftalentofficer.co. And it was a white paper study on the future proofing of workforce, the key takeaways from the 2025 State of Talent Management and Human Resource report. And the follow-up question I want to make, and this is a curveball, Crystal, too. Did not have this on our outline, so just throwing this at you. And that's, how is AI, how is artificial intelligence, and this, you might not have the answer because I certainly don't, and I'm not even sure any of our listeners have the answer. And that is, how can we see it become a tool and a positive support element to different facets of workforce management? I think of the tech first, because you were saying like techs can become operational pivoters to really help things, boom, especially with the rise of long-term care pharmacy at home, counseling people on nutritional supplements. I mean, so what's your thoughts around how AI is going to be disrupting our workforces or become a tool to our workforces?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be that human in the loop, whether it be the pharmacy or the technician, but AI can help with so much, and technology overall can help with process improvement. From a Health Mart perspective, we have solutions that are a part of our Health Mart Perks program. And I've been impressed with one tool in particular that embeds AI and helps to really wrap around the pharmacy management system and support interaction with the patient, so that the patient can engage in a way that makes sense for them, whether that be text or chat or a phone call. And then the pharmacy team can focus on those patient interactions that matter most, with less of the administrative burden of the phone ringing or having to wait for the patient. And I've also seen this help with an extension of care when the pharmacy is closed. And that can help in terms of additional support for staffing when it might be tight, or in hours when otherwise the pharmacy staff may not be reachable. There's really endless opportunities. I think technology will continue to evolve, and it's definitely a hot topic. But when I bring it back to the human in the loop, I think about the pharmacy technician in particular, and just making an investment, whether that's technology or education, that can expand the role that they have. So we're seeing, as you mentioned, technicians embedded in operations, but also trained to administer vaccines. We're seeing them as community health workers, and that's been an area where McKesson has invested in technicians in particular, and scholarships to get more technicians trained up as community health workers and extensions in their community. So I think it's a variety. It's technology enabled, but there's also training, career advancement, recruitment, all those things kind of tie together.
I just want to shout out to the pharmacy owners, listening, operators. Hey, this is your time. It's on the eve of 2025. It's time to go into a new year. Obviously, the rush of insurance changes is a crazy experience for any technician or pharmacist in January, February. But take time to think about this workforce talent, workforce management, ideas around career path development. There is a website section of McKesson that digs into the focus areas for Health Mart franchises and what you provide: financial strength and patient care, business operations, marketing support. Take advantage of this if you're a pharmacy owner and you have curiosity, or you kind of like want to dig into how to set the barometer and the pathway for 2026. Crystal, thank you so much. It's always good talking to you. Make sure you tell your PR team and your marketing team anytime you want to come on Twerks and talk with us about issues impacting our community pharmacies. You have our gong at your disposal anytime that you want. So thank you so much for this.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the independent pharmacy owners and pharmacy teams out there. You're the true difference makers, and we're just very thankful to be able to support the work that you do.
And happy holidays, Crystal. Hey, stay warm. It's cold here in Pittsburgh. You ever come to Pittsburgh? Don't come in the next 2 or 3 months. Just stay out of Pittsburgh for now.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Hey, we'll be right back with more Twerks.
This episode is sponsored by Independent Pharmacy Cooperative, widely known as IPC. Established in 1983, IPC is the nation's largest group purchasing organization owned by independent pharmacy. With a mission of maximizing the success of community pharmacists, IPC works to provide members with access to effective programs and services designed to enhance profitability for independent pharmacy. Read more about our mission by checking out our website at ipcrx.com. That's ipcrx.com.
Alrighty. We have Twerks News coming up, and it's kind of my favorite part, to tell you the truth. I want to give a shout out to our pharmacy podcast network teams and people that are contributing to our network. I want to shout out to the GRX marketing group, Finch Marketing, Nicole McLaurin team just put out a new episode in their Pharmacy Marketing Vitals podcast, a great podcast. Take a look. Shout out to Cardinal Health. Thanks so much for your work on the network, the value of community, and a really interesting interview with Jesse Stout. Do not miss this on the network. Shout out to Bruce Nealon, skincare, how that can impact your independent community pharmacy, how that can bring in new profits. Do not sleep on skincare. Take a listen to Pharmacy Crossroads with Bruce Nealon and Mike Carrigan. Don't miss the episode if you're a pharmacy owner. We also released the last episode of the Explore coverage. This was the first conference that PrimeRx put out, their user conference. It was amazing. We loved being a part of it. We thank you for making us a part of it. This is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to leverage technology and what that means for our future as pharmacy operators, regardless of what space you're in. And I would just want to thank you guys for all your work. We're seeing such an increase in participation within the network. We are excited about what's happening to the network and the growth. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to be a part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, please reach out to me. Let me know what you'd like to cover. If you want to come on Twerks, it's the easiest way to get involved. Let's go over the news together. Let's figure out, bring things to our attention. This is your platform. You bring what you want. And I want to go through some Twerks news. It's my favorite.
Thanks, Todd. Hope you get warm. It's cold out there in Steelers country. Okay, now for Twerks news. First up is an article from ChainStoreAge.com reports how Walgreens is doubling down on automation to reshape pharmacy operations. The retail pharmacy giant is dramatically expanding its network of robot-powered micro-fulfillment centers, facilities that dispense maintenance medications for chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension. The goal, serve 5,000 plus stores by the end of the year, up from earlier coverage of around 4,800 stores.
Todd, your Pittsburgh Steelers are done, my man. Give it up. There's always next year, buddy. Okay, next on Twerks News, an article just came out today from Pharmacy Times. There's a new migraine therapy raises key practice questions for pharmacists. Symbravo, a fixed-dose oral tablet combining meloxicam and rizatriptan, has been approved for the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura, offering a dual mechanism targeting both inflammation and serotonin-mediated pathways. Importantly, the product's label specifies that Symbravo is non-substitutable, meaning a pharmacist cannot legally swap it with standalone meloxicam or rizatriptan. This makes it essential for pharmacies to dispense exactly what's prescribed and to counsel patients appropriately. Pharmacists now play a critical role. They must identify patients at risk for medication overuse headaches, screen for contraindications, e.g. cardiovascular disease, GI risk, or NSAID triptan interactions, and advocate for comprehensive migraine management beyond just pain relief, including lifestyle adjustments and referrals when needed. Head on over to pharmacytimes.com for the full article. Go Pack! Green Bay Packers all the way!
I am a Mavericks fan. We're hurting right now. I have no dog in the football fight, but speaking of Mark Cuban, our last segment on Twerks News is about Mr. Cuban and the potential partnership with Humana. From Bloomberg.com, there's a report that Mark Cuban could be forming a potential pharmacy partnership, a development that could shake up how prescriptions are delivered and disrupt traditional middleman models. The collaboration would leverage Cuban's innovative approach to drug pricing and distribution, potentially creating a new channel for medication access that bypasses traditional pharmacy benefit managers and large chain dispensaries. If executed, the partnership could increase competitive pressure on legacy players and reshape the pharmacy supply chain. For independent pharmacies and pharmacy leaders, this signals a possible shift in how drugs are sourced, priced, and distributed, highlighting the growing influence of alternative pharmacy models and urging traditional pharmacies to adapt or risk being left behind.
By the way, Todd, one more thing we'd like Twerks listeners to know. Next week in Washington, D.C., there's a whole bunch of pharmacy people meeting up to roll out the Pharmacists Fight Back Act. If you want to go, listen up. You'll be joining pharmacists and pharmacy owners from more than 17 states, all calling for meaningful pharmacy reimbursement reform now. Your presence at the news conference will send a strong message to your congressional delegate. We're serious about passing legislation that protects and keeps pharmacies in business. The news conference is scheduled for Thursday, December 11th at 9:30 a.m. on the Capitol Hill lawn. Meet up with Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency. Check out truthrx.org. We put a link in today's show notes. Check it out or reach out to Todd on LinkedIn.
All right. If you're going to that, just let me know. Reach out to me like on LinkedIn. Send me an email. Last name Uri, EURY at pharmacypodcast.com. Once again, that's EURY at pharmacypodcast.com. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know this week. It's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy year. This week coming up is going to be filled with activity. We're going to be extremely busy and we're looking forward to it. But if we can work together, let's work together. RX. Thanks so much for listening to Twerks News. Stay tuned for our next segment.
Feeling lost with the complexities of pharmacy accounting?
In pharmacy today, there's so many different, variables and issues that impact the pharmacy books, records, accounting, the profitability of the store, so forth. There's different components of pharmacy that have its own nuances from an accounting standpoint. And so it's tricky. There's no doubt about it.
Ready to take your pharmacy to the next level but don't know where to start? Sykes & Company is here to help. Introducing the RX Assessment. With the RX Assessment, the pharmacy CPAs and advisors at Sykes will do a deep dive into your accounting and tax situation and give you the action steps you need to take your pharmacy to the next level.
If you're interested in, working with a team who understands the industry and how the accounting and tax should really be in a pharmacy, this is your chance to get a under the hood check of what's going on and getting the feedback of any issues or concerns or, again, things we think you're doing really well with.
Get the financial checkup your pharmacy needs and head over to sykes-cpa.com or call 252-482-7644.
This week in pharmacy, lots going on. I hope you've had a great week back from the crazy holiday of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving used to be my, second or third favorite holiday, but it's definitely become my most favorite for a couple reasons. Selfishly, I get 2 Thanksgivings every year because we have our own Thanksgiving and then we have it the Saturday before the actual holiday. And then we get another Thanksgiving. I get to go to somewhere else's house and drink their wine and eat their food and not have to clean up. And that's what I like about it. I like being able to go somewhere else and not have to clean up. All right. Hey, let's get back to business here on Twerks. And I want to talk about artificial intelligence. I know you hear about that all the time. You probably just rolled your eyes as you're in your car or you're jogging. You're like, oh no, here we go with AI again. But the reason why I want to talk about it is because I've been reading a lot of marketer messages and public relation firms messaging, and a shout out to Vince Grippy. If you don't follow Grippy Media, you should, because he's just a freaking Bible stories of advice on public relations and media and marketing. But I want to talk about being paralyzed by AI because of you not necessarily leveraging it the right way, depending on what you're doing. Are you taking an analysis of a bunch of data, financial data? Are you doing reporting? Are you doing creative marketing? Are you doing just general writing? And what does that mean for pharmacy operators? What does that mean for developers? And I couldn't think of a better person than one of our Pharmacy 50 most influential influencers in our pharmacy markets, my friend Shaun Jensen from JB Consulting. Welcome back to Twerks.
Hey, Todd, great to see you. And thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy belated. I don't know if that's a thing, but...
Thanks. I'm still saying it. I'm like, you know what? We get one more week of wishing each other a happy Thanksgiving, and then next week we gotta We got to get ready for the race next 2 weeks before Christmas disrupts everything. And that's like why it's no longer my favorite holiday, because it's just so disruptive.
Yeah, as a fellow favorite holidays, Thanksgiving too. So I appreciate it. But now we're back to cleaning up after ourselves, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. An article on LinkedIn just came out, and it's about pharmacy owners, pharmacy operators being paralyzed by AI, integrating AI into a pharmacy practice. It's almost like if you're not doing it now, you're probably feeling like you're being left behind. Let's review this article a little bit. Give listeners, just in case they haven't read it, I'm going to have a link to this LinkedIn article down in the show notes, but give us an overview of what you wrote about and why you wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it's the same question that's always been there. It's build versus buy. And as a custom software guy and as an advisor, that's what we've been looking at for 20 years. With AI, though, certainly the buy decision of just what's off the shelf. I mean, you saw this year at all the trade shows we were at, all the ones it's AI is all the hype. All the panels are filled with AI, founders and people talking about their products. The exhibit hall was at least, one in every three was an AI startup. So, just even understanding, who to pick in there. I mean, it's hard. It's a crowded space. It's all new. There's not like your best in breed safe choices. The companies that have been doing it for 20 years, you go with them or you try something new. Like everyone's new. I mean, being a veteran is what, 3-5 years in business, like making money doing AI. So really just, there's so much choice out there. And with a discipline that's, I'm not going to say AI is new. It's been around since the 40s or 50s. But, recently the deep learning of like the last 5-7 years, the expansion of the resources, computing capacity. I mean, so many things are converging right now where obviously we're in a new era or new age of AI, especially as it comes to pharmacy. So I think even the buy decision is more complicated, and the build decision, it's not like, hey, you need a 7-figure budget. You need to build this huge team. Like for years, you can't build serious commercial software, for 50 grand, 100 grand. But nowadays, maybe you can. AI is enabling more with less. There's certainly prototyping and MVPs, and people are developing with just small teams and showing really, really interesting things. The flip side is, building something, you're taking on a lot of liability. Now you're a software company, like it or not, by definition, you're a software company. That's underestimated every day. No one really, so few people understand like just how much goes into that. Add AI now, to add the data, add the security, the privacy, it's layering it. You can't just be a good tech company. You have to be a good AI tech company, which is, no small feat. And the companies that are doing it well, they're being rewarded. They're out there, changing things, doing a great job. But, it's really hard to separate the fact from the fiction and like the real people from the kind of vaporware, as you'd put it. So that's kind of what we're all trying to figure out here together. And that's what a lot of my focus this year has really been on, this trend towards like, what do people do with this choice overload? It's like going on a streaming service at night. What are you going to pick? There's too many choices. And I just find that, like you said, the operators, they're paralyzed by not knowing what to do. It's hard to just kind of follow the leader because you don't want to be left behind. You want to be the leader, but it's scary being out there on your own trying to decide, which way to go.
I think that there's so much parallel to something that starts out as trendy. It might start out as something fun. People trickle into it, but then all of a sudden when it starts being really leveraged as actual tools that are making differences in business, let's back up 2-3 years ago. And by the way, what I'm about to give this comparison, it's the same thing with freaking podcasting. I've asked the NCPA, I've asked the APHA, I've asked big companies, I've asked pharma, I ask people that I get to have meetings with, are you a podcasting company? Are you a publisher? And is that what you do? And they're like, well, of course not. And I'm like, well, then why aren't you joining forces with us so that we do all the silly work? We do all the connection. We do all the distribution, the marketing, because we know how to do this. I've been doing it for 16 years so that I can jettison you and leapfrog you from 0 listeners to thousands of listeners and getting you in touch with the right people and creating conversations that move the needle for business development. That's the exact same reason that I have you here today, Shaun, is because you're going to ask these specialty pharmacy companies, you're going to ask the long-term care pharmacy operators or even the small chains, you're going to say, are you guys an AI company? And the answer is no, you are not an AI design company. So why not partner with an organization who's been saturated and soaking in pharmacy business metrics and data and design before AI was even a thing? And now JB Consulting and your team is adding it onto the common denominators and the infrastructure and the CRM systems and the custom stuff that's built. I remember Mike Agostino, who ran Amber Pharmacy. A shout out to Mike. He's a freaking godfather of so many things and what he's doing in healthcare to this day. But he had to build a pharmacy management system because there wasn't a pharmacy management system that really fit the way that things were. And this is 15 years ago. So now I'm thinking there's Pioneer and there's Framework LTC and there's, Inovalon technologies and there's all these technologies. What if you have a very specific thing that you need done in a myriad of things, data analysis or cell structure or marketing or curating best pathways to getting things paid for these expensive specialty meds. And now you get to bring in you and your team and say, we need AI to do this. And we really don't have any idea of how to actually make it happen because we don't want to push out the millions of dollars or all the infrastructure that we've developed and we've built over the years. We just want it to enhance. And that's exactly what I believe the smart operator and the one that isn't paralyzed is going to do. They're going to reach out to an organization that is in pharmacy, in operations, in healthcare, speaks the language, understands it, and then rises the unicorns, Shaun, because there's very few organizations that I know of that have all of those, tweaks and bits to be able to make it fit and be able to get something out of it without spending millions of dollars instead and being able to do something streamlined. And you and I have started out slow with our own systems. You've created a metric system for the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and we've taken it in stages on purpose because it was new to us, it was new to our clients and new to our hosts. So I think it's the right way to approach it. And a shout out to operators out there that are listening right now. What is your software as a service solution? What is your CRM system? What is your marketing service and software? How could you bring that all together by layering AI? How can you make it all work?
I mean, it's just for like the operators out there too. I mean, you got to look at the types of companies that are getting in the space and sort of, you need to know their origin story. Some of these companies, it's, like Mike, who also is a good friend, great guy. Shout out to Mike, like you said. Someone who knows this stuff so well, who's like, look, if I could just wave my wand and build this thing, here's exactly what it would do, and it would work great because that person knows exactly what needs to be done. You get entrepreneurial folks who have seen the issues and the problems firsthand forever, and they're like, I know there's got to be a better way to do this. So they form a team, they build something. And there's also companies that kind of just come out of left field, like in every industry. They're tech guys, they kind of read from afar, like, oh, healthcare, they struggle with prior auth. They read a little bit and like, oh, if you could automate sending fax, I could write that. And it's like they think they can solve prior auth because they can automate sending faxes or they can, read documents with AI. And, there's a lot of stuff that, it gets the nuance of what needs to really be done to build the right solution is it takes a huge combination of skills. Like you said, a unicorn, you need the right folks and what goes into that team that you would really need to build something, whether you're taking it to market for the masses, which is even more challenging, or trying to build something for yourself to improve your own operation and your own, niche workflow that you have. Either way, it's a big undertaking, but, it's not to be intimidated by it. Like I said, with AI and just with the current way programming is now compared to the 90s and in the, 2000s, early 2000s, it's way more accessible. Like smaller teams can do a lot more than they could before. You don't need a consultant like JB. If you don't know someone, certainly we can be that unicorn for you and we could come in with the 25 years of experience. And, programming is as much an art as it is a science. I actually say it's probably more of an art than a science. There's not the perfect way to do everything. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And, there's really everything's a trade-off in software. I mean, that, Todd, like every single decision you make is a trade-off. So you got to come in and see what works best for yourself, for your operation. And, if you need some help shepherding you through kind of making decisions, you need a consultant that you can trust. It could obviously be us. That'd be great because we've been around for a long time. But, really, you just need someone who has the perspective and that unique skills of data privacy. They understand, how to protect this stuff. They understand, privacy officer. They're a CTO. They understand all the technology out there, all the emerging trends, like everything that AI is doing behind the scenes. And they know health tech, pharmacy and health tech. They have to know it inside and out. You can't just stumble in the field with a technology background and expect to have everyone teach you how to do it. I mean, that's one of the things that we see. Vendors come in with these low price points, and it's like interesting because they know they can solve any problem. They're like, look, if you sit me in a room, teach my guys here, like, what's the problem? Show us like over your shoulder. We can solve that. Well, like, of course you can. That's what technologists do all day long. It's pretty easy to do. You got to wonder, like, what happens once they've solved that problem? Like, you're helping them help you, but for what and at what cost? And like, once they've solved that problem, do they go and bring it to your competitors or bring it to the whole market? And what happens if they're successful? Hopefully they are, but like, if they are, your costs could go up astronomically as they're going up. They might be taking a loss just to get in the door with you, get a footprint in the industry, say they have a client, also sit and work with you for cheap. You're like, wow, this is a great, win-win. It's like, well, yeah, it is. They're sitting in there and you're investing your time in their product. You're teaching their team stuff that they don't even know how to do. It works in a lot of cases. It's not, you got to watch your secret sauce a little bit, but also, you're kind of renting their capabilities, if you want to put it that way, rather than building and investing in your own. So when people say like, let's just start small, let's bring in a vendor, let's see how they do it, kind of observe firsthand, like how the pros do it. Mind you, a pro is someone who's been doing it for 2 or 3 years, not, 2 or 3 months. There's not much of a pro. And then you're just going to kind of do it on your own and learn from them. But it's like, it goes both ways. Like I said, it's a trade-off. And like, you got to see what you're giving up potentially. And again, it comes down to trust. You got to trust your consultants that they're in your best interest. You got to trust your vendors that they're doing the right thing. Just like everywhere in life.
Those are excellent points, Shaun. I also want to encourage the listener to not pigeonhole your specific department with tools that then squeeze out the rest of the departments. If you gathered up operations, you gathered up marketing, you gathered up the executive team, the CFO, the reimbursement consultant, the patient care manager, definitely sprinkle in pharmacist in there, get them all together and ask them, hey, in 2026, we want to roll out a management ERP-like, HubSpot-like system that can really utilize all of our existing technology, but bring us all together with a lot more automation, a lot more customization of our forms and of our policies. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we kind of sprinkle or overlay a custom software system on top of it, bringing everything together, leveraging AI and doing it the right way. That's where JB Consulting steps in and says, okay, we see the outline that you've built from different perspectives. We saw it from sales and marketing. We saw it from client management, account management, the CFO. We saw it from operations, from reimbursement. This is how we can bring it all together. And I think when you guys can start connecting the dots for the client, the lights and creativity are going to go off, and then they can bring those additional ideas back to you and execute and finally use AI without it being paralyzing and scary and realizing, hey, I don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, every team is unique. Every team has different strengths and weaknesses and different people in it, and that's what makes everything different. So, if you bring in a company like us, the first thing you got to do is take an assessment and see, what's there and what could be helped out. And, really the cast of characters involved is going to determine the solution and, the goal and the patients you're serving and your unique workflow. And, there's so many things that are case to case that, just bringing the right talent together, the right experience together, companies will succeed with that. And, like you said, we can all walk before we run, just like we're doing with the metric system. Already a lot of cool stuff that you've built and designed. But like, phase 2, phase 3, is going to make it even better, but there's no reason to wait and be overwhelmed by, all those phases. Like we're starting, your customers are already benefiting from it, and it's only going to get better from here. I think pharmacy owners and operators can take the same approach.
Absolutely. So reach out to Shaun. He's very active on LinkedIn. He's also going to be you're going to Assembia 2026 in April, right?
Of course. Yep.
Absolutely. So we have time there with Shaun, get together, brainstorm, do things. A shout out to the Assembia team. I love this conference and everything that they do to position leaders and specialty pharmacy to do business together. But Shaun, I always appreciate your insights on Twerks. Promise me that you're going to come back and let's dig into specific case studies. Let's bring on one of your clients and dig into the challenges that they faced and demystify artificial intelligence in pharmacy.
That sounds great, Todd. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing that. And thanks for having me. Enjoy the holidays.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll be right back with more Twerks. Hang on.
As frontline healthcare providers, pharmacists like you understand the importance of personalized care, especially in acute pain management. Ural Pharma is dedicated to providing high-quality, generic products tailored to meet your patient's needs. The company aims to serve a diverse range of patient populations, including athletes recovering from intense training, weekend warriors managing minor injuries, and those seeking a practical and mess-free option for acute pain management. Keep Ural in your toolbox of pain management options and join the ranks of pharmacists leading the way in personalized care. To learn more about Ural Pharma and its products, including full prescribing information, boxed warnings, and important safety information, visit uralpharma.com. That's YARAL pharma.com and connect with them on LinkedIn.
Hey, welcome back to Twerks. Hey, one of the things that's been confusing to me for a number of years, there was a company that I worked with back in my long-term care days when 340B really started to kind of bubble up and several pharmacies really started to differentiate their inventory from general inventory to 340B inventory. But starting on January 1st, 2026, the 340B program is going to see significant changes, which is going to include implementation of a 340B rebate model pilot program and for specific drugs, and then new drug acquisition cost surveys and outpatient hospital questionnaire. And additionally, there's going to be a site neutral payment adjustment to certain drug administration services. Although the broader 340B remedy offset will remain at, I guess, 0.5%. I mean, I could keep going on, but I'm confusing myself just even listening to myself try to do these cliff notes. So that's why I've invited Allison, Arant, to the show today. Welcome to Twerks. Allison, it's great to have you here.
Hey, Todd, thanks for having me.
All right, you got to tell our listeners a little bit about your background and what you do at Clearway Health, because we're excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to join you. I am Allison Arant. I am Senior Vice President at Clearway Health, and I lead all of our client development, client success, and marketing efforts. And what that means, especially for today's topic, is that we help to digest really hard, complex things in specialty pharmacy, and we are a partner to our clients to help them navigate the hard things. And so we're building specialty pharmacy programs for hospitals and health systems. And when industry and regulatory changes like these happen, we help to navigate them successfully to ensure optimal care and financial performance.
Well, thanks for being here. We love seeing you at the NASP meeting that happens every year. A shout out to the NASP team. I don't know if you say NASP or NASP. I rattle off NASP because it's easier to remember the alphabet soup. So let's get into this because I have some questions. So first of all, there's like a rebate model pilot, a pilot program that's going to be launched. There's like 9 specific drugs included in kind of like the list. Can you kind of make sense of that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So this has really been talked about for the last 12 months, but when it really started to matter was in July of this year when the Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA, announced that the 340B rebate model pilot program would go into effect in January for the very first time. And so initially, this is going to apply to 9 drugs with identified manufacturers. And the big change is that they're selected for Medicare's maximum fair price program, and this program is going to go for at least a year. So instead of a hospital being able to buy those drugs at a discounted 340B price, they are going to have to buy them at wholesale acquisition cost, submit a claim, and then wait 10 days to be reimbursed the difference in the WAC, wholesale acquisition cost, and the 340B price. So in all, they're floating a lot more cash up front instead of really gaining the benefit of a 340B program to help them buy drugs at a discounted price to create accessible care for their patients.
So I can never define why something is changed as it is. When there's changes, there's disruptions. If you start following, you pour water down a hill, and sometimes water goes where you don't intend it to go. So your organization, the data analytics, the insights, you have enough going to probably help us understand this, but who's this going to disrupt right out of the gate? Like January 1st comes, what organizations are going to be like, I can't afford to front X number of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Like, who's this going to impact before we figure out the real path? Maybe they'll make changes in the next quarter or the next year, but regardless, who's worried about this right now?
Who's worried about it now is every hospital and health system in the US that is a 340B eligible entity who is writing prescriptions and filling them in their own pharmacy for these identified drugs. Who it's going to impact after January 1 are the providers who are having to wait longer and jump through hoops with their administration to get access to the drugs. And ultimately for the patients who are going to be hamstrung if a hospital doesn't have the cash up front to buy these drugs down and wait for the rebate to come through. So when you think about it from a regulatory perspective, we have manufacturers and we have administration who's making decisions that ultimately are impacting the care and the financial stability of hospitals and of patients.
So I think of our independent community pharmacies out there who might be attached to healthcare clinics in counties or in states that are receiving funding. I'm thinking of small hospital systems, medium-sized hospital systems. There's listeners right now, they're listening in, they're like, oh, I didn't even realize this. What should they be thinking about? It's Friday, November, what is today on Friday? It's
December
November
5th.
So what do they gotta do to shift and make adjustments to prepare for January 1st?
Yeah, there to think about, and it is possible. So while it is a lot, there is a path to success to make sure that you're ready for January 1st. And it's going to take a lot of work. The first is understanding that there is a technology requirement for all of this, where when you submit the claims, it has to go through Beacon, which is the technology partner that has been selected for this program. So every hospital and health system that's a covered entity is going to have to register with Beacon to submit that data to flow through to the manufacturer and back to Beacon 10 days later to get that rebate. So you got to work on the technology component. You also have to look at the impact. If you haven't already started sizing the impact, take a look at that list of drugs and understand how many of those prescriptions are your providers prescribing, and what are the dollars that you're looking at? What's the difference in that number of prescriptions and paying for those drugs at WAC versus 340B? And then starting to work with revenue cycle to make sure that you've got the right folks set up to look at the impact that that's going to have on cash flow, to make sure that you're prepared for that impact and that wait time of 10 days. You have to figure out how often you're going to submit those claims. And it's a very people dependent process, especially to get started. So asking those questions internally is going to be really important to make sure that you're prepared. And the other thing is, today's Friday, Monday morning, start looking at, can I buy down some of these drugs now over the next couple of weeks? Can I go ahead and buy down some at 340B pricing so that I have a little bit of a stock ready so that it minimizes that disruption come January 1 when you're going to have to start buying them at that wholesale acquisition cost.
Work with your buying groups or work with your wholesalers or ask a lot of questions. What about Clearway? Are you open to taking questions from hospital systems at this point? And what would you do if a hospital kind of reached out to you and said, hey, can you help us out with this?
Absolutely. Yeah, we are eager to be a resource. Clearway Health partners with hospitals and health systems across the country. We are in the throes of preparing and supporting them as they're getting ready for January 1. Please reach out to us, info@clearwayhealth.com. You can connect with us through our website and ask us for help. We would certainly be willing and able to engage to ask you the questions and to support you on this journey. One of the biggest things that I think we can do as we navigate this change is support each other. We have advocacy groups. Just this week, supported a conversation with America's Essential Hospitals, connected with America Hospitals Association in the lawsuit that they filed just earlier this week to try to stop moving this forward. So please use Clearway, use your peers, and use these advocacy groups as a resource to help support through this change.
Yeah, listeners, you're driving in a car, jogging, doing something where you're not watching us on YouTube or on video, and you're listening to this after the fact. If you can't get a hold of Allison, you can't reach somebody at Clearway Health, which I'm sure you can, you reach out to Pharmacy Podcast Network, and I'll connect you with Allison directly, and we'll get you some answers. But yeah, Allison, thank you for demystifying this in some ways, because I think we need a whole series on strategies around 340B in 2026.
Absolutely. It's a monumental shift, and getting ready for it is tough, but appreciate the time to talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time here on Twerks. Just hold on for 1 second, a quick message from our sponsor. Listeners, we'll be right back with more Twerks. Oh, yes, we are back. And today's final sponsor, which we're excited about, is from it's the Pharmacy 50 Awards. Do you know about the Pharmacy 50 Awards? Have you voted for somebody that is special to you, and what you know about them impacting their community, impacting pharmacy? I want you to check it out. Go to pharmacy50.us. That's pharmacy50.us. Vote for somebody. This means a lot to people. This has impacted the lives of 200 of our pharmacy professionals in the last 4 seasons. It's just been amazing to see the outcome of many of our Pharmacy 50 alumni, and how this award has helped to expose their career to their own employers, where people have received promotions and get a lot of attention, and they're now doing public relations for their organization, and they're traveling more. There have been some people that have gotten new career positions out of it because they are recognized by their profession as leaders and being influential. And it's just about celebrating our industry that gets beat up in the face, gets pounded, smacked in the face so many times, of so much frustration that we're all experiencing in the challenges that we're doing. But with challenges come celebrations. And this is a celebration of you, the pharmacy, the pharmacist, the pharmacy operator. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for listening to all of our 40 plus podcasts that's part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I am so proud to be involved in this profession and support this profession. I hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next week on This Week in Pharmacy.